Wow.
Good morning, everybody.
We're back.
Oh, you know what? I don't have it on a loop. That's why it's so short. It was only 5 seconds.
Oh, the intro. I mean, like, it's nice to have it.
Yeah. Well, good morning, everybody. It is Social Surge with Fly and Mo. We are here, I promise. Sort of. We're kind of here. We're a little
Back
bit
in the internet.
Yeah.
We went out. We crawled out of the internet for a few days.
And we looked so different. And I want to talk about that because you did a post about that on LinkedIn. And we actually talked about it at the gala. So if you're not familiar with the real estate gala put on by Don Tepman, Bob Knuckle, Beth Azor, Justin Pugh, along with sponsors Crexy, Placer AI, Agora Real Estate, and Trep. That's
Trep.
right. Our buddies over at Trep.
Wow.
They helped put that on. It was in New York City at the Peak at the Edge. I think the Edge at the Peak. Peak at the Edge is at Peak. Peak is like at 101 floors up. It's a beautiful building. The elevator is a little nauseating, not gonna lie, like going up 101 floors with the walls moving as you're moving.
Well, and specifically, so what's interesting is what they've done in there is it's all an LED. You can't see out of the elevator. And so, but what they've done is they have this like graphic, this video graphic they've designed that looks like what the city would look like as you go up. And it's sort of like building the city in a kind of digital twin thing going on. But yeah, it's sort of like, but it's interesting, I think, because they were probably aware that a lot of people are like,
Good morning, Regalata Real Estate. Thanks for joining us over on the IG, on the gram. Did you even get to see What the Heck?
No.
Yeah, you didn't even get to see him, did you?
I did not get to see a lot of people. So that's okay. I did. I got to go meet our newest VP of Business Development, David Fieser, which was great. We had breakfast in Bryant Park, and then I hung out with Crexy, Shanti, and Kayla, which was rad. And so there's some content that's going to come out there pretty soon. And then I was traipsing all over the city trying to get ready. So
the day of, which was really cool, I went to women's breakfast put on by Beth Azor and Tonia, sorry, I'm going to forget your last name, and Natasha Falcone. It was over at one of James Shields' restaurants. Fabulous. Like I was going to say fantabulous, which is actually, that works. Spread that was put on. The food was amazing. Had coffee, of course. If you're like me and you're directionally unaware or your apps never work for you, like I ended up like hoofing it down 9th Avenue because my app, like, so What the Heck set it up for me, right? And he's like, take a left out of the hotel and a left down 9th and follow the street. So that's what I did. Like, really, I should be one of those kids that has like the pin right here, with like the note.
On a leash.
Or on a leash, but I should have a pin with a note so that like I don't get lost. Yep. Like if found, please return to owner. And so I get to like an intersection and it reroutes me and I'm like, oh, what the hell? So of course I follow the directions and I said, what the heck? And I start going the opposite direction. And then I realized like I am not anywhere near where I'm supposed to be. And that was probably like a quarter mile down the way where I was supposed to be. So then I didn't want to be late. So there I am running through the streets of New York City, it's impressive because I don't run. So get to the women's breakfast. And one of the things that I appreciated that Beth did, we went around the room and we introduced ourselves. So got to meet some new people. Fantastic. But she said, when you go to events like these, you should not be and I'm paraphrasing. You shouldn't be talking to people that you already know. There should always be a reason for you to be there and to be creating new connections. And before I went, Mr. Rod Santamassimo.
Reps with Rod.
Rod. Get that to me. And he has a broker workshop going on. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So one of the things that What the Heck and I had talked about is the fact that I wanted to have 20 new connections. That was my goal. I didn't exactly make 20 new connections. I got I met a lot of people, but like actual people that I put in my phone that I connected with was like 15. And so now I have to go back through and make sure that I connect with them again and email and follow up. But one of the things that I do on my phone is I have their name, their last name, and then where they're like who they work for. I actually, so one of my little tricks is I actually put where I met them and what they do. So like there will be people in my phone that'll be like Las Vegas CRE Industrial, right? So it's just a little reminder of like, okay, now I know where this person, who this person is, where I met them from, stuff like that. So I really love that Beth had us go through and talk about our goals and what we were planning on doing. And even though I didn't make mine, at least I got, we're not going to look at the gap. We're going to look at the gain. There's 15 new connections to actually to work with. So we have titled this episode "The Consequences of Your Actions."
Two things I just want to drop before we get there. On the topic of putting other people in your phone, this is an interesting trick that our at 1031 specialists that one of our VPs of business development, Candace Meyer, does. So she's in the 1031 space, which is very incredibly niche. When she does presentations and when she gives people her contact info, she has them save in her phone as Candace Meyer 1031. So that then when somebody's like, oh, I need like a 1031 person, they just look that up in there and they don't even have to remember her name. This is like when people like got their last names because they were like a blacksmith, right? Like it's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. Lots of tricks, and especially important remembering all these tricks as other conferences are coming up, right?
Yes, we have SIOR that's happening this week, and then we have ICSC, which is happening next week, which you'll be at, correct?
I will be at ICSC.
And I'll be at SIOR because I do social media for SIOR Foundation, so I'll be there doing interviews with all the scholarship recipients, which is going to be a lot of fun, and super excited to actually see Jeb. I don't know if I'm ever saying his last name properly. I think it's Jeb Blunt. It could be wrong. I could be.
He's going to be there?
He's going to be there. He's going to be doing the end. He's going to do the end. Yeah. So I'm really excited.
I don't know if it's Blount or Blunt. I'm not sure.
Yeah, right? See? Because like it could be Blouse. Blount. Is it Blunt? Anyway. So
that's very cool. And Allison's going to be there too, right?
Yes. Allison Weiss and I will, as well as Chad Griffith, will be talking on a panel called Social Proof. And what we'll be talking about is we'll be discussing how social media converts into leads and how you can use AI to help you with that. So we are going to have just kind of like a real stripped down talk about how we're using AI, how you can implement it. And then a half hour after that, we will actually be helping facilitate a workshop where people can bring it's going to be hands-on. They're going to bring in their phones, their laptops. We're going to help them set up ChatGPT, and we're going to do a fun little thing, which everybody saw across, commercial real estate, and it's the action figure. Okay. So we're going to have people do the action figure so they can have their own, and they can figure out how. The best way I describe stuff like that is it's like Mad Libs, right? You're putting your information in. Like if you remember Mad Libs, like those are, of course, we always use.
I remember Mad Libs.
I mean, me and my kids still like when I find them, we still do them. And then of course we always put in like words like fart and pee and because that's funny and that's our humor. But like it's like Mad Libs. So you're just adding in your adjectives, your nouns, whatever. And then you get this great little action figure, which will be a lot of fun. So now,
sorry,
we've talked about the real estate. We talked about the breakfast. We talked about New York City. And now I want to talk about your post that you did about showing up authentically.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay. So I will fully admit that I may have a hyperbolized the hook on that post, which is nobody recognized me at the gala, because then immediately people are like, I did, which is so funny. Like when you say things like that and then people come back to correct you. And it's true, but okay. So sometimes the feeling is bigger than the fact, right? But the fact of the matter is that many people who I know and who know me literally took them, like I came up to people, I started talking to them, and they were looking at me like I was somebody new. And then the look on their face, like Aaron Harris literally almost fell over. The look on their faces are like, oh, it's you. And so it was psychologically for me to have put in a bunch of effort into having a very specific look that I thought, and I wanted to have fun. Like I had like princess. I looked like Cindy Lou Who. I had like a thing on the top of my head and like full glam makeup. And like, I don't do that. And I wanted to like,
this is how we show up.
Right. And I wanted to have this whole experience of, you know, getting glammed up and going to the gala. And then I show up and then people are like, oh. And so,
oh,
you know, and even my husband, he was like, yeah, you looked different. And I'll just put that somewhere else. But what it got me thinking about was, look, a year ago or 8 months ago or whatever it was, when I started posting on social media and I started getting on video and I started doing all those things, like my biggest objection to doing that to begin with was like, I don't like how I look. And so I still have, so there's a little piece of me, like, even though I talk about all this stuff all the time, there's still this little piece of me, as we all do, right? That's like self-conscious, not sure if, you know, just like, you know, and the comparison trap of like looking at other people and knowing for the fact at the gala that other people would be like all hot and dressed up and stuff like that. And just thinking I had to show up in a certain way that may not necessarily be in alignment with how I actually show up every day. So I'm not trying to like bash anything in terms of like the people who really value that, like showing up like that every day. Like, I'm sorry, I don't have the time, I don't have the money. But I don't. The point of me drawing attention to that experience, regardless of how many people recognized me or not, was the fact that we spend a lot of time and energy, both in our personal appearance and in the appearance of our content, thinking that the most valuable thing about it is how it looks and not what it says.
Ooh. Mic drop.
But we'll just cut that one out. But it's because when I go back and look at the first videos I ever did, like, I don't know what I'm doing. The visuals are not super good, but what was actually happening inside of the videos was what was the interesting part about it. And then the polish came over time.
Right.
And so it's like, and so I know for a fact, if I had spent less time that day and even leading up to the event worrying about what I was going to wear, worrying about my hair, worrying about how I was going to look, right? Like, I may have had a very different experience of the day, experience of being present with people. And nothing bad happened, but it was just an interesting experience of like, oh, I actually didn't need to spend that much time, money, effort, and anxiety in how I looked.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah. And we talk about showing up authentically all the time on social. And if you're not familiar with the reason why we make the sound when we say authentic is because authentic is used. It's overused so much. And the people who generally say it are not being authentic. So it's very strange for them to use that word in that way when you look at them and you're like, no, not so much. No, not so much. Now, I will say that Fly and I showing up here every Tuesday and Thursday for me at 5:30 in the morning and for her at 7:30 in the morning, and we look like this. That is very authentic. This is how you're going to see us. This is how we show up. Generally, I mean, like, sometimes I look better, but for the most part, this is what you're going to get. Now, when it comes to like makeup and stuff like that for the gala and doing hair, I honestly, it's interesting because I have a very distinctive, right? Very, very distinctive. It's Mr. Corey Zelnick.
Zelnick!
Good morning.
What a gorgeous man.
I have a very distinctive like streak, right? So I wanted to make sure that was very noticeable. And so I kind of more did like a 40s glam, 50s glam sort of look going on with the red lip.
Hot, and you had that fur.
The fur was awesome. I should have worn that more, but it was a lot of fun. We had a good time, and there are certain things. Good morning, Elvira. Thanks for joining us over on IG. That is my sister-in-law who just popped in, so it's kind of cool that she popped in. We really did title this "The Consequences of Your Actions," and the only thing that we're going to say about things is people are watching. They are watching your actions. They are watching how you present yourself. And should you decide to do something that is not appropriate, that is not good for your brand, the best thing that you can do is apologize.
Yep.
And not a non-apology apology. That is a thing. It's very much a gaslighting apology, right? The non-apology apology. I'm sorry you feel that way. Gee, thanks for telling me how I'm supposed to feel. What? But actually, coming from a place of being humble, coming from a place of understanding, an apology goes a lot further than ignoring it, deleting it, and trying to run away. So that's all we're going to say about
delete. that. The ultimate dirty delete.
Yes. Let's see.
Well, like, it's a fact. Like, it's just a fact of the matter. And I honestly think it's super fascinating that the conversations that happen online that have an effect on the real world, on business, on literally how the world is being constructed. People talking online about that has an impact on that, because the conversations impact relationships and relationships impact the business, and then vice versa, right? When you go to these events, not everybody is there. But when you have an online presence and it's very well documented, and you're at an event that is highly, highly visible, right? Which a lot of these events are, like, not just the gala, but, ICSC, like, any of them, right? Any of them, like, everybody who is not there is like looking at them like a hawk, because they're so interested in what's happening, right? Like, we're super nosy, as you have said. And so what you do in person will show up online, and what you do online will affect the real world.
Correct. There are consequences to your actions. And I would also like to say, you had a great tweet, and I think you also put it out on LinkedIn, but I can't be sure because I was kind of basically from Friday through, what day is it today? Today is Tuesday, Friday through Monday. I was not really, I was incommunicado, basically, which is different for me. Trying to be present and in the moment. Have a great day, Mr. Corey Zelnick. Love you. He's on the gram. It talking about being present and in the moment. It's important to understand when you should say something and when you should not say something. And I think, coming from a perspective as a woman going to a conference, and I will get back, I'm circling back to what you wrote.
I don't know what I wrote.
We need to be more self-aware of our surroundings.
Yeah.
And we need to have people that we can trust. So believe me when I tell you that we are talking in DMs, we are conversing, and we are being super open about calling out poor behavior by people. And it is surprising that we are not, as a community, and this is specifically for women, and I'm sure there are situations with men as well, but I don't really see men talking about it as much online. If you feel uncomfortable, if somebody is making you uncomfortable, and you see either me or Fly at a conference, dude, you're my bestie now. You are my bestie, right? Like, no questions asked. And that's how it should be. if you are feeling uncomfortable, connect with another woman, somebody that you trust, because there's no reason why you should feel threatened or uncomfortable in any aspect. That is incumbent upon the person who's making you feel uncomfortable. A lot of people don't understand that they're sometimes, and maybe they just don't care, but that their behaviors or mannerisms are off-putting. And I'm trying to be super PC about this. And so you just want to make sure that you have somebody that you can trust. And so Fly had put out, if you're at ICSE, she's not going to be drinking. And if you need help, if you need somebody, contact her. And I think that's super important to have kind of that network and connection going so that you do feel safe.
Yeah, 100%. And I have put it out on multiple apps, and I'll put it out again when like we're actually at the event. And you know, I feel like for a lot of people who are incredibly ambitious in this, and which pretty much a lot of people in this industry are that way, like we forget that like we're not actually supposed to do this all by ourselves. So like one of the interesting things that I experienced in New York was that like the whole day I had this whole plan, but it was very much like I gotta do this on my own. Like this sort of like mentality of like I'm the only person who's responsible for me, and so therefore I am responsible for like everything that I'm doing. With no help, right? And then I got to the hotel where everyone else was getting ready, and immediately I was like, oh, I just feel 100% better because I have people who love me and support me and want to see me succeed, right? So when we go to these big events, like, you know, people who are ambitious, men, women, young, old, doesn't matter, right? Like, I feel like there's this mentality of like everyone's trying to bootstrap, and we don't ask each other for enough help. Whether that is, hey, you know, I needed somebody to like anti-wingman me out of this situation. Anti-wingman.
He's our new superhero.
Or like asking for somebody for a referral, asking somebody like who it can introduce you to, like asking for advice. We like, because like I don't know what it is that everyone feels like they have to have this front of like I know exactly what I'm doing and I have it all figured out and I can like win and do all this stuff on my own. It's just like wrong. And that I think is really what the gala, especially on all the events surrounding that, like one of the things I think that people miss when they look at that, because people talk about like, oh, it's like CRE royalty and it's just like big ball, like, you know, ball and party and like all this stuff, is like everybody in that room has a relationship and are there to like help each other win and succeed. And everybody in that room, you know, is all about giving. Right. And so I think that, you know, and that I think is sort of like one of the interesting things about celebrity and the age of social media is that these are really just ordinary people. Like Stromel guy's just a guy. Like Don is like Don, you know, Don has ascended into like becoming this like legend, and like also like he is just a dude.
Yep.
And so I
think super relatable dude that cares.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
so
I'm not trying to be dismissive at all. I'm just trying to like, you know, people.
No. Yeah, no, absolutely. Because when I good morning, Dwayne. When I talked to him later on in the evening, it was just like Mo, how's it going? Are you having a good time? Like he was like really like interested in and invested in like hearing like how is it? How's it going? And he, you know, genuinely cares about the community. And I think that's one of the beautiful things is that when you have a community, as we do, that has been built on social, we look out for one another.
Yeah.
And we are like 100% in your corner, no matter what, unless you're a dumbass. And then we're going to call you out for being a dumbass. But I on a real quick note, I forgot to mention one of the things that Beth at the and I actually repeating this. One of the things that she mentioned is she didn't want to see us talking to people that we already knew.
Yeah.
To spend 3 minutes talking with a new person, right? So 3 minutes introducing yourself, getting to know them. And I was sitting next to Nicolette. Her last name is Sinatra. She does title insurance, but she's also a professor over at NYU Shack Center for Real Estate.
Cool.
Fabulous woman to talk to. But one of my favorite things to do at events like that is to actually connect people. I love doing that connection of like, Nicolette, do you know this person, and introducing. And so I found myself doing that a lot more, probably so introducing people who didn't know one another, than actually like really going out and introducing myself to people that I didn't know. There was several people that I did talk to that like never met before, got their information, but to me, the joy of events like that is doing that connection, creating the connection between two people. And I would, and then to hear them go, oh, I need to talk to you, or, oh, hey, we should get together, or, oh, I have a podcast I would absolutely love for you to be on. Like, you're, one of the subjects that I would love to cover. So don't forget that being the connector is super important as well. So even if you know people in the room, right, the room that you're in, we could totally go off on a Hamilton thing right there. But welcome to my brain.
My brain too. Don't worry.
Being that connector and being able to connect people who don't know one another is also super valuable. I think I walk away from this event again, absolutely beautiful. I got to go to the Real Deal before party. Didn't get to go to Trep, and I didn't go to the after party.
I missed everything.
Had to fly out of New York City. You went to the after party.
Yeah, I should have gone home. Just because that's the other thing. Thinking about these events is like, it is. The FOMO is real. But it's just like, I needed to go to sleep. And then like I stayed up later and went to the after party, and I did go home before everybody else. But still, the next day was like that. It was tough. You know what I mean? And so
when I missed the Trep thing, I really wanted to go to the Trep thing.
I keep missing everything. But I do. I mean, I think that the point I wanted to make in some ways about this event is, and how people think about this event is like, the event is not the goal. The relationship building is the goal. And the way that you get into some of these rooms, I don't like talking about it like that, but like, people who have pick me energy about stuff, or people who have jealousy about stuff. And I understand that, like, I don't know how valid this is coming from my mouth because I was in that room, but like, I'm not expecting to be invited to anything ever again. Not that anything's wrong, but just sort of like, I have no expectation about being any place and doing anything for anyone. How you get there, regardless of of where you want to go, how you get there is by showing up, being interested in people, offering the value that you can add to whatever that they're doing. Do they need help? Do they what are they doing and what do they need? And if you start the relationships that way and show up in the relationships that way, that is how you get to places that you want to go. There is no shortcut to this. And so people who get, people who get mad and frustrated, and it's totally valid that other people are being recognized, other people are succeeding, all of that kind of stuff. Like, that visibility is not the goal. The goal is to build relationships that could be mutually beneficial so that we can continue to support each other and everybody can win more business.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is about making those connections so that the community that you build on social, that goes from social to in real life, is super important. Bo Barron just joined us over on IG. Bo, we're actually going to He says, "Good morning, Mo and Fly. We're actually getting ready to wrap this up, but we were talking about the consequences of your actions. They can either be good or bad. And, again, consequences of your actions. When you start building connection, when you start building community, when you start creating real relationships with people, good things happen. And that really, it's that give mentality, right? It's not having a scarcity mindset that opens up tons of doors for you. Now, that being said, are we meeting on Thursday, ma'am?
I think no, because you have lots of stuff going on.
Okay, that's fine.
I don't know. We'll talk about it offline.
We'll talk about it offline. on our many multiple different avenues and channels that we talk to one another, because it's all over. Believe me.
And they each have a genre. Like
you
don't DM the same stuff on Twitter as you do in the Instagram. Like it's all
no. The gram is unhinged, and I love the gram. Our gram is unhinged. It's my favorite. It's like, yeah. Anyway, everybody have a great Tuesday. We'll see you back here potentially on Thursday, if not next Tuesday, and we will give you. Wait, when are you going to ICSC?
It's not next week. It's the week after that.
It's the week after that. Okay. Yeah. So we'll talk about what happened at SAR Spring Conference, and we'll probably talk about more what's happening in AI and the world of social media.
Love it.
Everybody have a great day, and we'll see you back here. Bye.